Welcome to the Oaks Podcast. I'm your host, Travis Hall, alongside my wife and co-host, Ingrid.
On this podcast, we talk about all things real estate, entrepreneurship, business, faith, family, you name it, we talk about it, and how we do it all as an equally yoked husband and wife team.
We are glad you're here. Thanks for listening. Enjoy this week's episode. What's up? And thanks for joining the Yoked Podcast. This week, I am excited. I have a buddy of mine named Adam Colburn from Wendell, North Carolina, right outside of Raleigh. He's a good buddy. He was my first actual podcast episode that you had me on, your podcast.
That's right.
And so it's only fair that I repay the favor. Hopefully, after 30 some odd episodes, I've figured it out a little bit. But he is in Owners Club with me. He's you crush it in a lot of ways. I've looked up to you in a lot of aspects of my real estate business. Currently, you do fix and flips. You do some unique style fix and flips where you subtail it. You own some properties midterm. I think you're doing some sober living, and you're married, 4 kids or 3 soon to be 4. Went to Liberty University, which is super cool, right next to where Ingrid went to school. And yeah, you're just a good, awesome guy. I'm excited to have you on the show, and because I know that a lot of my audience will get a lot out of what you say. So, what did I miss in your intro that I should add?
I mean, I think you nailed it.
Great looking beard.
It's a little scraggly right now.
You're a coffee guy.
I am a coffee guy. I do own a coffee shop. That's been really fun.
I am jealous about that.
And then
I've always loved it.
A just serial entrepreneur, always chasing after the next shiny object. Been a skateboarder for 20 years, musician for 20 years. So like all things creative, I'm about. But that's pretty much me. So I really appreciate you having me on, man. It's about time.
Absolutely. So let's talk about your story a little bit, because you're a serial entrepreneur, but have you always wanted to be an entrepreneur?
No,
ever since you were a kid?
Not. No. Well,
okay.
Maybe kind of just for the freedom aspect. But when I was growing up, like I was just one of the bros, right? Like I just wanted to skate, or I played hockey, hang out with the buds. If I could get a burrito and hang out at the pool or whatever, like that's a good day. Right. And so like
it sounds like a great day.
Yeah. So it's like just nothing but hangs, not really thinking about like climbing the corporate ladder, not building these big empires. And like when we were growing up, like this side hustle culture wasn't really a thing. Like you see these 18-year-old kids that have $1 million businesses. Like I was hyped if we made $100 cutting somebody's lawn. And so, cause that was going to feed me for the next week and a half off of Moe's burritos. Right. And so it was like, the bar for success was super low. And it was we're just down for the vibes. Right. And so it was definitely, my parents were both entrepreneurs. They still are. They have been my whole life. So I think it's like ingrained in me to be an entrepreneur. I was just a late bloomer. Right. It took a while for that switch to really flip in my brain. What do your parents do? So my mom, she worked for a very large direct to seller jewelry company. It's no longer around. It was a version of an MLM, or similar to like Mary Kay in the makeup realm, but it was they would come and do home shows in homes like this, and they would sell jewelry. And so she became one of the top 5% across the country, like over 50,000 agents. She had whole sections of stadiums that were like her downline and stuff, like incredibly successful. So she did that for 20 years and only worked at night. So she was like a stay-at-home mom with us. We still went to public school, did the things, but when we would come home, she would be there. And it was like after dinner, she would go and work for a couple hours and make $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 at these shows. And it was just smashing it. And so she's done a variety of different types of things like that. Before that, she was a realtor for a little bit. And then done some other MLM type things. And then my dad is just been a salesman forever. He's sold everything. He used to sell law books that you would see on like the attorney commercials. He sold like forklifts. He's sold paper products to restaurants and stuff. He's done all the things. He's selling insurance. He's done that on and off for many years. And so he's also started several businesses. He was a photographer and kind of what sparked my interest in photography growing up. He shot for magazines. He did aerial photography before like drones were a thing. And so they've both just kind of
That's awesome.
chased after all kinds of different visions, right? And so and it was cool to see because none of them had a really like traditional day job. And so I think we were spoiled to the point where we didn't know anything different, really. And so, but I think it was just that entrepreneur spirit. I inherited that from my parents, but it took me a long time to flip that switch and be like, all right, now it's time to actually be the one to go do the thing rather than being a number on a spreadsheet somewhere.
Right. So I'm curious, like, did they push you, like, in some, maybe not directly, but like kind of push you toward, hey, just do whatever you want, like, go to college, go start your own business? Or was it just kind of, hey, whatever Adam wants, we support you?
Yeah, I mean they were very supportive in all the random things that I'd want to do. I think like because you mentioned Liberty University, I was going there to be a worship pastor, and so was super
That's right.
passionate about music and really wanted to be like a music director in a church. So I went there. Then I found photography, got into like weddings and real estate eventually. And so they supported me along the way on all of those things, but they never really gave me like a clear path of like, hey, you need to go be a business owner. It's just like if you're passionate about something, go and do it, and if you can make money doing it, amazing, right? But it's like that I just
Absolutely.
didn't have the fire really in me to go and grow something scalable. Like my first kind of entrepreneur thing, I guess, was probably in elementary school where do you remember those little like paper things that you would fold up to do like fortune tellers?
Yeah.
Yeah. So like I was the only kid in my class that could figure out how to make them. And so I would barter with kids for their like snacks in their lunchbox or like during like Halloween or whatever. It's like, yeah, just give me half your bag of candy and I'll make you one of these. And so we were like
That's
hustling that
amazing.
way, but not for money. And that was like the first thing. Then I would like burn CDs for homies and just charge them a couple bucks for the CD. And then high school is when I'm super into skateboarding and I'm breaking boards like crazy, right? Just because we're jumping downstairs, we're trying to figure it out. We don't know what we're doing. And so I find that I could buy a big bulk of like 15 boards on eBay for a couple $100, but I could sell them to all my friends for cheaper than the shop boards cost. And if I got halfway through the stack, now I've reached my cost. Now it's all margin where I either get free boards for until I break them all, or I can make a little bit of money and then just turn that situation. And so I probably did that for a year and a half where I didn't have to buy any of my own skateboards because I would sell them all to my buddies or other people at the skate park or whatever. And so it wasn't like I want to do this to make money. It's like I want to be able to do the things that I want to do for free, essentially. That was kind of like my first step into entrepreneurship. And then outside of that, like really trying to make something that I enjoy a business would have been photography. And that was in college.
I love that. I love that like 15 boards. And I mean, I'm not a skater. I had a
Yeah,
skateboard. I had a
sure.
longboard. I was more of a longboarder and
That's what I do
different vibe.
nowadays. Yeah.
Yeah,
My
longboarding's
ankles
so
and
fun.
knees are, they pop every time I walk upstairs now from jumping down them for so many years. And so it's like, I still want to skate, but I need
Right.
a little bit more low impact. Now I just go really fast down hills. So still get the thrill, but
Right.
not hucking myself down.
I took my longboard on a skate park one time in college just for fun. My buddy and I
Okay.
had no idea what I was doing. And let's
Yeah.
just say I only did it once. It definitely,
Yeah.
I ate so hard. It
Yeah.
was bad.
It's a whole different world when you're riding a big board like that, especially in a park. Yeah. Nice.
That's awesome. I love that. So,
Yeah.
okay. So fast forward to like now, like when did this connection to real estate and like your full-time real estate, this is what you do. Obviously you have a lot of different, different types of businesses and a coffee shop, which I do want to talk about that, how that plays in. But when did real estate become the thing? And when did you make that pivotal point of I'm jumping and going
Yeah.
full send into real estate?
Yeah. So my photography journey, right? I was shooting weddings, I was shooting engagements, doing the things. And then I transitioned into real estate photography. So shooting listings for agents and other investors. And so that's where I really caught the bug for like flipping houses and just architecture. I was always curious, like watching Property Brothers and all those shows, but it's like now I can
Oh,
actually
yeah.
see it. I'm walking through these houses when this guy is buying it and it's a complete dump. And then 3 months later, it's fully renovated and beautiful. And I'm taking the photos on each side. And so I'm looking at this process. I'm like, dude, this is so sick. But limited mindset at the time, I was like, my wife and I were still renting our house. I was like, I can't even buy a house for myself. Where am I going to find the money to go and buy a house to flip and make money? Where is this guy finding these houses? Because you never find these dumps on the MLS. Didn't know what off market
Right.
real estate was. And so it was something I wanted to pursue, but I wasn't ready for it. Right. My mindset wasn't there yet. And so it was kind of like I just put it in the back of my brain and just kept doing what I was doing. Right. Just producing, taking, I don't know, 15, 20 houses a day in the peak season. And that was really cool because I'm still using one of my hobbies, my passions, and I'm making money at it. But it got to the point where it was so regimented because every house is the same. It's just how big are they? It took all of the fun and creative process of photography away, and it kind of got burnt out, right? And so I transitioned out of that job, full time real estate photographer, went back to a previous employer doing maintenance work in a pharmaceutical space, and so like specialized HVAC work, and because I like that when I left work, I was done with work, right? Like the work life balance was not there with the photography stuff. We were a small company, we were growing like crazy, and that was really cool. But in the off season, I have lots of flexibility. I might only work like 20 hours a week, but then in the heavy season, I'm working like 150 hours a week. And this was when our first son Mason was like 1 years old, and so he's chasing me around the house. I'm having to edit at like 11 o'clock at night. I'm getting up at 4 to schedule things, and it was just constant. And I was like, I would rather go back to a day job at some other company where I'm in there from 7 to 3:30. When I leave, I don't hear from them until the next day. If it's the weekend, I'm done, right? And so we did that for a couple years, and then my daughter Gwen, she came along. She was about 2 months old, and that's where everything changed. And so I had this like existential crisis on my couch at 2 in the morning, just racking my brain. I was like, dude, how am I going to make enough money to provide the life that my family really deserves? Right? Like I make decent enough money at this job, but I have 2 or 3 ladder rungs to climb, and then I'm tapped out for the rest of my career. Like all of my coworkers have been there 20, 30 years. We work like 3 of the 8 hours. It's really easy work. But then we come back to the office and they're just watching cat videos on Facebook or looking at their 401ks, just waiting to retire. And I'm like, I want so much more for myself. I want so much more for my family. Like 2 weeks paid vacation and a measly 401k is not doing it for me. And so that's when I'm like, I got to find something else to do. And obviously, I had photography, and the big paying jobs like weddings and stuff are always on the weekends. I want to see my family more, not less. And especially in our area in Raleigh, there's so many creatives. It was just a race to the bottom where somebody would do a full 8 hour wedding for like $500. I'm like, it cost me more than that just to get my gear set up and to the event, right? Not even editing. It just wasn't worth my time to be away from my family that much to make a couple extra $1,000 a month. And so I started going down the YouTube rabbit hole of all the side hustles under the sun, right? So I tried a print on demand t-shirt company. I did stock trading a little bit. I didn't have a ton of money to play with, but we did it. We did some drop shipping. I did like the Uber Eats and all those kinds of things. And they all worked to an extent, but they weren't really moving the needle. And I'm spending a ton of time researching and implementing, but not really getting the traction that I'm looking for. And eventually I stumble upon Jerry Norton talking about wholesaling.
I
And
love
it
it.
was some super salacious title. It was like how I flipped this piece of paper and made 40 grand. And I was like, no way. But it's like, again, another 3 a.m. session of me watching every YouTube video ever made on side hustles. And I was like, what's 15 minutes? Let me watch it. And so he goes through the whole process of finding an off market distressed seller, locking it up under contract, selling it to an investor, and making the spread in the middle. And I'm like, dude, there is no way that this is real. Like, that sounds way too easy. and he's talking these serious numbers, like 40 grand for a piece of paper. Like, that's wild. And so it sparked my curiosity, but I was still very like standoffish. Like, I don't know, this doesn't seem legit. This is probably just some funnel to get me into a course that doesn't work and all this other stuff. And so I started doing some research just on Facebook, like looking up other like wholesaler Facebook pages or real estate investor things, and came across a guy local here in Raleigh. His name's Ted. And I sent him a cold message. I was like, hey, bro, you don't know me, but I'm learning about this whole wholesale thing, and it sounds awesome, but I really need to see somebody that actually did it, like not one of these gurus on YouTube, right? So it's like, can you show me a receipt where you actually made money? I called it a receipt, not like a closing statement or a HUD. And because like I have no idea. Yeah. And I was like, just show me that this is real and I'm gonna freaking go after it. And he's like, it took him like 3 or 4 days to respond to me, because obviously it's just some random dude sent him a message. And
that's
he
a
reached
bold
out.
question too.
Yeah. And he reached out and he's like, yeah, bro, no worries. I just sold this infill lot in Garner, which is like another town a couple minutes down the road. And he's like, I made 20 grand. Here's the receipt, newbie. Welcome to the club. And I was like, dang, this is real. Like, this is a real person that lives in my town that just made some serious money doing this. I got to figure out how to do it.
How long ago was this?
This was late 2020, early 2021.
Okay.
In that frame, time frame. So like peak COVID, like craziness.
Right.
And so I was like, all right, I got to figure this out. And so I started just consuming all the content, all of Jerry's stuff, which I quickly found Pace, and then Jamil and Brent, like the wholesale hotline crew. And so like every spare minute of the day, like I stopped listening to music. I only listened to podcasts, watching YouTube videos, reading books, like just want to just consume as much knowledge as possible. I like to call myself a learn it all, not a know it all. I just want to get it all in me.
I love that.
So I understand what's going on. And so that learning process probably took like a month and a half. Still not taking any action, but I'm just like, I've got to learn the ins and outs of everything and
consuming
the what ifs. Yeah, exactly. And so, but then it gets to a point where it's like, you still have to take action. And so at that time, I was very much so like an introvert. Like, I'm still bubbly or whatever, like I am right now with the homies, but I would never be the guy to walk across the room and introduce myself in a group of strangers, right? That's just not my vibe. And so picking up the phone and calling sellers to ask them to sell me their house at a discount was like absolutely terrifying. And so for the first like week and a half, anytime that a seller would answer, I would hang up on them. And so like, I would just be like, please go to voicemail, please go to voicemail, please go to voicemail. And then if they answered, I would just be like, hang up. And it was tough, but I had this like internal dialogue. I was like, bro, if you're actually going to do this, you have to answer the freaking phone. Like, what are they going to say to you? It's not a big deal. And like, just getting all pumped up watching Brent Daniels or one of these other guys. And so we eventually just did it, just sucked it up and took the punches on a couple of them. And once you get that first rejection, it's like, oh, that wasn't so bad. And then you keep going and you keep going. And it's just like, it's like going into the gym, right? Every day you do a couple extra reps. You can't lift 400 pounds right when you start. You got to start small and work your way up. And so I started slowly building those muscles. Was networking a ton in the free group. This was before I joined Sub 2, and found a guy local to me here in Raleigh, and we're still business partners to this day. We were both starting around the same time. He was a CPA by trade, so he had more money than time. And I was like, hey, bro, I have more time than you, not by much.
We are a good partnership.
Yeah, definitely don't have the money, and I don't have much more time, but I do have some time. So, and this was right around tax season, so he's about to be drowning in tax returns like he is right now. And I was like, if you fund our marketing, I will do all the phone sales. I'll go out to the appointments. I'll do whatever we need to do to get the deal done, and we'll just split the profits. And he's like, that sounds great. I love it. I don't have the time. I'll float the money. All good. And I was like, all right, cool. So we did that. We hired some VAs. They were generating leads for us. We probably got 4 or 5 houses under contract that fell through for a variety of reasons. Locked it up too high. Sellers are lying about something. Buyers ghost, all the things that everyone has to deal with. I just got them all compressed in like a 4-month time frame where I'm just getting punched in the face repeatedly. But it made me build that thick skin, right? That resilience that it's like, it's going to happen. There's too much evidence that all these other people are making money doing this. I know I can do it. And so we just kept at it. And eventually we finally got our first deal. It was super small. It was like $3,500 that we split. But it was proof of concept.
Wholesale fee?
Yeah, wholesale. And but it was like, all right, we made money. This is real. And so we doubled down. We went through all of our leads again. And then we started doing a little bit of direct mail where we were just licking and sticking ourselves like at the kitchen table after the kids went to bed.
Yeah.
And probably 2 weeks later, we got our biggest assignment to date, still $49,000. And it was the easiest deal I've ever done. And it was just like that one last push to get the snowball over the hill is where we started to get the momentum. And then we started consistently closing deals, moved into flipping. And that's where I was like, I finally made it. Like, I'm doing the thing that I wanted to do 5 years ago. Now we're doing it. And so that's kind of grown into buying rentals, doing the sober strategy, getting the coffee shop, which that's a whole nother story. Not really for a profit reason. That's more of a passion project, but we can talk about that. But long-winded answer, that's how I got into real estate.
That's amazing. I love that. And it's actually, I mean, that's 2021 is not that long ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, really. So well done. I mean,
I appreciate it. Yeah.
So what was that first, what was the deal? Like your $49,000 assignment? Like it was a single family home or what was it?
It was a single family house in Durham, North Carolina. Can't remember the address. You think I would. I know it's on Darrow Road. Because it was about a half mile from our first flip that we were working on simultaneously. But the situation was, it was a husband and wife. They owned the house for about 25 years, raised their family there, and then they felt called to go start a church in Virginia. And so they picked up their whole family, moved to Virginia. The plan was to get established there, start the church, and then they would come back, spruce up their house, rent it out, and just keep it as an investment property. And so during that 6-month stint where they were gone, people broke into the house, stole all the copper pipes. They had multiple squatters in there, like the worst of the worst kind of situation. So they come back and they walk into this mess and they're like, we have no money to fix this house. I don't know what to do. We can't sell it. No idea. Cause they just left. They locked the doors and left. And at that time, probably because the thing sat for probably 5 or 6 years after this whole scenario. Right. And it was a pretty rough part of Durham at that time. And so, yeah, they boarded up the windows and the doors and just left it. And they just went about their life in Virginia. And so they just happened to get a postcard from me saying that I was interested in their property. And so he called me and he's like, Adam, I feel like this is an answer to prayer because I don't know what we're going to do with this house. We're still paying property taxes on it, on a house that we'll never fix up. We're just bleeding money. I can't sell it in its current condition, or at least he didn't know that he could, like off market situation. And he's like, so what do we do? Like, how can you help me? And I was like, well, let me get out there. Let me run some numbers. Let's see what's going on. And then I would love to buy this house and take this burden off your shoulders. And so that's what we did. We drove by. This was right in the middle of 22, like on the run up where everything's exploding in our area. And so the flip that we were working on was right up the street and we were looking at it as like, this is our first flip. Do we really want to take on a second flip before we even know if the first one's going to be profitable? I already had some buyers in our back pocket and a guy that I used to take pictures for. He does 150 houses a year, like clockwork, just economies of scale. Everything's the same. It's his calling card. It's a gray house with a red door. It's his house. That's just the way that he's built his business. But he was buying like crazy in that area. And so I was looking at the prices, running ARV, figuring out a good buy price, and called the seller and just said, hey, what are you thinking? And he gave me a number. I squeezed him for like an extra $2,000 just to make sure, because it was already a great deal. But it's like, if you jump too quick, then you get in this weird tug of war where they think that they offered too low, that kind of push-pull situation. And so we locked it in. I sent 2 text messages and he's like, yep, I'll buy it. And he knew that I'd send it out to some other people, and he's like, I will buy it, add 10 grand, stop sending it to people. It's my deal. And I was like, you got it, boss. And so it was from like contract to close. I think it was a total of 2 weeks, but the amount of phone call, like talking with the seller and my buyer, I think it was a total of an hour maybe. And we made 49,000.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was
I mean,
nuts.
those are the ones that you're like, that story is the story that people are like, oh man, I want to be in real estate. That's so
Right.
easy.
Yeah,
It's like,
dude. Well, and it's like it was a blessing for sure, because I mean we needed that. They obviously needed to get off it, and it's
absolutely.
like the thing that was most impactful, like obviously making or bringing home a check that's has that type of amount where it's like 3/4 of your salary, like that just breaks your brain. But the thing that impacted me the most is when we met, because they drove down from Virginia because they wanted a physical check. They didn't want to do a wire. And they met me at the closing table. I always bring my sellers donuts. So I brought donuts there. We're having donuts. And after we signed, the wife got up and she gave me a hug and she's like crying, like, thank you so much for like taking this burden off of our shoulders. And so it's like wholesalers get this common misconception that like we're trying to strip equity and steal properties from people, but it's like we're really just trying to solve problems. Obviously we need to make money in the middle,
Right.
but we can solve problems that other people can't, and the level of those problems is directly attributed to how much money we could potentially make.
So true. We just had a wholesale deal, and I don't wholesale. I've never wholesaled. I've always been just a buyer, Ingrid and I. And so we've done one wholesale, and it happened within the last month. I've
Okay.
not talked about this yet, but so we did a wholesale. It was like one of those unintentional, like we have a partner and we were direct to seller, hey, like just looking for flips, and got one, and it was a duplex. We're like, well, we don't really want to flip it. It's just not the market for that.
Yeah.
Tenant occupied. And that's the seller gave us his number. He's like, hey, will you give me X? And the thing was, he had a relationship with these tenants, and he was severely under market. It's like, you've heard this story a lot. And it's like, they're under market. He didn't want to kick them out. He felt bad. And he had an emotional relationship, and they've been there for a long time. And so he's like, will you pay us X? We're like, yes. I mean, our his name's Greg. So Greg, our partner, and we're like, this is a deal. Like, it doesn't matter which way you slice it.
Yeah.
It's a deal. Do we want to flip it and like go through the rigmarole, like kicking the tenants out? No, we don't. This is a deal for a long-term hold, but it's not for us. It's for somebody else. Well, fast forward, my wife, Ingrid, it's in a multifamily little pocket. She just simply got on PropStream and looked at every owner within 2 blocks and called them.
Totally.
And one of them, and then she's an agent as well. She looked at every close, who's the agent. And so she called the agent on one, and he's like, well, actually, yeah, my buyer that bought that house is probably interested. And so we made a deal happen, simply calling on PropStream, and it was a $65,000 deal.
Dude,
and
amazing.
What's crazy is we could have asked for more.
Sure.
But we left a solid meat on the bone for that buyer. And because we're like, well, it's 65 grand. That's a great wholesale fee.
Yeah, dude.
And I mean,
stop while you're ahead.
In reality, she's the only one that put work in. And I mean, he can easily make 100 if he flips it.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, it's just crazy. Like, it's just funny how it can work. We were just the right place at the right time, and we solved that seller's need. Yeah. And we didn't even lowball them. We literally said, yes, we'll pay you that.
Yeah, 100%.
I mean, it was just fascinating how it all worked.
Yeah, dude. Well, you provided a ton of value for them.
I would love to do that. Yeah, I would do that all day, every day. No.
Yeah, no. We just did one because I haven't had a wholesale deal in a while because we've been buying heavily too, right, with our flips and our subtail model. But it was just somebody at our meetup, just like, hey, I have a seller. It's a probate deal with a squatter. Can you help me? And I was like, sure. So I drove out there. I ended up having to break into the house, but got the photos, had it sold before I even had it contracted with the seller. But they were basically like, whatever you can do, I'll take it because I don't want this on my credit. It was not my house. but now I have the loan attached to me,
Right.
and I don't want to deal with a squatter. So like whatever you can do, let's make it happen. And so we just reverse engineered it. And yeah, it was like bing, bang, boom, super easy. And so they're going to make
That's awesome.
30% of the deal. I'll make a little bit more because I had to do more of the work, but they're making a check on autopilot just for sending me an address. So it's like on both sides of the coin. It's great for us because they
Right.
got a free lead, but it's great for them too because now they learned the process and all they did was send me a situation that I know how to handle and they don't know yet, right? And so now they're learning through the process while still making money, and it was a perfect situation.
That's amazing. Let's pivot a little bit and then we'll wrap up. But I'm curious, like for you, you've done a lot in the last 4 years, 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
What's like the main thing that keeps you motivated pushing forward, especially in a season like 2021, 2022? It was extreme ups. It is not in extreme ups right now, and so you have to. I'm sure you've had to pivot a little bit. I know you've had some, like where you took a loss. Like, what keeps you motivated?
Yeah. I mean, obviously, like the cliche one is my family. Of course, it's my family. I want to provide the best life possible for them. But at the end of the day, I mean, the thing that has always pushed me forward is my faith, right? And I think the Lord has entrusted me with specific gifts that I didn't know that I had until I found this space, and that I can go and make an impact in my community and in the world ultimately for his glory through this. And so
Amen.
every bump and bruise we take along the way, we're better for the next thing. And as we optimize and just become better business owners and better stewards of our money, we can go and make a bigger impact. And so that's just that 1% better every day is really like my mantra, I guess.
I love it. Okay, well, last question for you. Last question for people, how do they find you? How do they connect with you? What is your podcast? I will link it all, but I want to make sure that people can connect with you. Especially, I mean, I have a lot of friends in North Carolina, actually, so you never know.
Dude, come on out. Let's hang.
Truly.
But yeah, you can find me on Instagram, YouTube. The handle is at the Adam Colburn. If you have deals that you're working, we're actively buying for sober living homes or for creative flips, as well as new construction in Texas. You can go to adamsbuybox.com and see everything that we're buying, submit deals. If you're looking to join a team, would love to have a conversation with you. Let me know Travis sent you, and I'll be sure to take good care of you.
Absolutely. That's awesome. Well, thank you for that. And then the podcast is Properties and the Pour Over, right?
That is right. The Properties and Pour Overs podcast. I post all of those to my YouTube. You can go back in the archives and find this handsome man. He was one of my early guests.
That's right.
Way back in Boston last year. And so I'm
so
pretty
fun.
terrible at updating them for like all of the audio interfaces like Apple Podcasts and Spotify and stuff. I typically do it like, I don't know, like once a quarter where I update everything. So if you want to stay up to date where I post every
It's
Friday, YouTube. Yeah, subscribe to YouTube and you'll check out all the new podcasts there.
Awesome. I love it. Well, Adam, thank you so much for being on. I hope people got a lot out of that. I love your story. It's awesome. I appreciate you.
I appreciate it, brother.
And yeah, thanks for joining.
Absolutely.
All right. Until next week, enjoy this episode and have a good one.
Peace.
Thank you so much for listening to this week's episode of the Yoke Podcast. We hope you enjoyed it.
And as always, be sure to like, subscribe, and follow along as we drop a new episode each week.